a little bit of an interesting show. I already see it in Michael's comments. I get it. But let's have a little bit of fun today. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns, a Kevin Durant trade that no one is talking about, or maybe not yet. And then as well as, do the Arizona Cardinals have what it takes to be Super Bowl contenders this year? Let's go.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. So thankful to have you guys here. A little bit of a shorter show today for the final show of the week. I got a meeting here in about an hour, so I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time today. But listen, there are some interesting things going on in the world of sports, especially around the Phoenix Suns and the Arizona Cardinals. So we're going to jump right into it. And a little bit more of a happier show. Sometimes I get a little into the nitty-gritty of what is actually going on with the Cardinals, what could potentially go wrong. But let's go a little positive today, because I think that's an angle that we haven't really talked about. Because as much as Michael in the chat might not like it, or maybe someone else, my guy Steven as well in the chat, good to see you here, brother. There is a chance the Cardinals do become some sort of semblance of a Super Bowl team. It's not a major chance, but it could happen. But first, before we go to the Cardinals, let's start here. So the Minnesota Timberwolves fall last night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are now out of the playoffs. The Oklahoma City Thunder look like a juggernaut. It looks like it's just the Oklahoma City Thunder's year. However, of course, things can change. The NBA's weird, but ultimately at the end of the day right now, it looks as if the Oklahoma City Thunder are probably going to win the NBA Finals. The Pacers don't look like they have any chance, but that's not what we're focusing on. The Minnesota Timberwolves don't have many ways that they can get better. They don't have a ton of ways that they can make their team immediate contenders. And this team has clearly tapped out of what they are. Rudy Gobert, not great in that Thunder series. Anthony Edwards is still awesome. Julius Randle reverted way back to his mean against that in that Thunder series. They're going to need to move something. They're going to need to make a major splash. This is where people talk about potentially them having some Cat remorse. Cat was not working with this Timberwolves team. It was always bound to fail. The Twin Towers, as they called it, Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, that was not something that was really had a long shelf life. But let's talk about it like this. There's not many ways for the Minnesota Timberwolves to get much better. They don't have the necessary assets to go get Giannis Antetokounmpo, nor do I think Giannis wants to play in Minnesota. Although Anthony Edwards and Giannis would be insanely fun to watch. Both guys are ball dominant. I'm not so sure that is the avenue that you'd want to go. But the team with the most interesting players, not picks, is the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Phoenix Suns are trying to come up with a new play style. And according to Brian Gregory and according to Matt Ishbia, from what we've seen at press conferences covering them with Locked On Phoenix Suns or doing other things, getting in the weeds, that doesn't really matter. But watching them talk about the next great version of the Phoenix Suns, it seems like it's a team that leans more into what the Minnesota Timberwolves do and not so much what the Phoenix Suns do. And you're not going to get an insane amount of picks. Other teams have better picks than the Minnesota Timberwolves have. But if you're looking to stay competitive now while also trying to plan for the future, the Minnesota Timberwolves have players. Now, it would have to be a 3-team, 4-team trade, which gets incredibly complicated. But we know about the relationship between Kevin Durant and Anthony Edwards. We saw that form at the Olympics last year. Anthony Edwards' favorite player growing up and still is Kevin Durant. There's real chemistry there. And it's no shock to me that Kevin Durant would want to go play with his boy. He's done that with Kyrie Irving. He's done that with James Harden. He's done that with Devin Booker. Anthony Edwards might just be the next guy on the list. And so when you're talking about a team that could give the Suns exactly what they need in terms of assets, players, and potentially go get picks somewhere else, because it's not an easy deal. You can't just grab Jaden McDaniels and Naz Reid. You're probably picking one of those two guys. Naz Reid would be, if you're talking just about players, Naz Reid would be a phenomenal piece to have around Devin Booker. He's kind of the small ball 5, shoots the 3 ball really effectively, and is a really good defender. Or you could go the Jaden McDaniels route, who has taken a little bit of a step back from what he was last season, but an elite level defender, long, shoots the 3 ball, fine. Those are the kind of players you got to put around Devin Booker. You're also probably talking about moving Julius Randle to a third team. What is a non-starter for me is any trade that starts with, here's Julius Randle. Because the only thing you're getting from that is cap relief, because you can let go of him next year, who he's on a pretty big deal. But if you're talking about players, if you're the Suns, could you get Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels for Kevin Durant and get picks somewhere else? Maybe it's a 3-teamer. Maybe it's a 4-teamer deal. Could you get those picks somewhere else? The Minnesota Timberwolves are maybe the most interesting destination for Kevin Durant. We know how much this guy values relationships, and we know how highly Anthony Edwards thinks of Kevin Durant. For a team that doesn't necessarily have the insane pick assets that you might get from another team, this team's got players out the wazoo that fit the next great Phoenix Suns team. Gritty, defensive, suffocating. Those are the types of guys that you'd want. And I'm talking about potentially getting a Naz Reid and a Jaden McDaniels. Maybe it's Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, and you move Julius Randle to a third team and you get more pick assets. This is a team that's really interesting because Anthony Edwards, he ain't getting any younger. The dude might be 23 now, but the Minnesota Timberwolves have to continue putting an exceptional team around him or he'll walk out that door. It's not like that they have all year, it's not like they're going to have his whole career to get him an NBA championship. This guy wants to win. And if you present the opportunity of Kevin Durant playing with them, there is I think, a very good chance that that would be something that both parties would be interested in. So when you're talking about an interesting team that could potentially get everything you need in a trade, a couple of players, maybe a player, maybe a Nickeil Alexander-Walker, maybe a Jaden McDaniels, a Naz Reid, move Julius Randle to a different team, a combination of those 4 players and maybe a pick or two from someone else, that is the gold mine of what you're talking about in terms of picks and players that you can get to keep your team competitive for now to appease Devin Booker, as well as get those picks down the line. And who knows? Jaden McDaniels could turn into an even better player. Naz Reid can turn into an even better stretch 5. But what I know is Devin Booker would fit really well beside those 2 players. That's what makes a ton of sense to me. And with the relationship with Anthony Edwards and Kevin Durant that has continued to blossom over the past couple of seasons and at the Olympics, it's a match made in heaven. And the Minnesota Timberwolves don't have a ton of ways that they can get better. They've already kind of spent their assets on Rudy Gobert. They've went all in and got Dante DiVincenzo from the New York Knicks, Julius Randle from the Knicks. They moved Karl Anthony Towns. And for a guy like Kevin Durant who's not going to take an insane amount of money, maybe it takes a discount to play with Anthony Edwards. But it's not going to be this Shai Gilgeous-Alexander level contract, and it's only a 2-year deal. You're not looking at something that's 5+ years. So if you're the Suns, a really interesting team that could give you the necessary picks and players to make you that team that you want to be, obviously, clearly, the gritty, suffocating, defensively, just hard-nosed team, those two players fit it. Naz Reid is the perfect stretch five for Devin Booker, and Jaden McDaniels is the perfect wing for Devin Booker. Almost like bouncers at a nightclub to protect their guy. So the first thing came to my head last night when the Minnesota Timberwolves lost was, all right, how can the Suns get what they need from Minnesota? Because I think if you dangle Kevin Durant in front of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards could pressure them to trade for him. And he might say something like, listen, man, you want me to stay loyal to you? Get me my guy, the guy who I grew up idolizing, Kevin freaking Durant. So that was the first thing that came to my mind last night. It's super interesting. And you can get, like Steven said in the chat, a couple of building blocks to keep you competitive for the future, but also a chance to move on and get picks for the future. Ultimately, listen, I think it's a win-win for both teams because the guys that you have right now, they're not winning. You got beaten up in the Western Conference Finals twice. All right. Let's talk about my favorite subject of the day. I see some of you guys, sometimes you guys will get a little upset about this stuff. I don't care about being positive. That's not what this show is. I try to tell you guys that often. Guys, I'm not a fan page. I love this team. I'm a fan of this team, but I will not blow smoke. I'm not going to tell you how great Kyler Murray is. I'm going to be honest with you. I see the tools. I see his ability to throw the ball downfield accurately. He's an insane scrambler, but he's been inconsistent. James Conner, yeah, really good running back. Can he stay healthy? Budda Baker, could he get old out of nowhere? It happens. And the way he plays with such reckless abandon, maybe he just falls off a cliff. But I've almost exhausted all those options. I have almost gotten to the point where I have exhausted just about every option for what could go wrong with the Arizona Cardinals. What expectations need to be filled? Let's talk about it from a different perspective. Is there any world, and I truly mean that. Let's start here. Can we all agree that the NFL is incredibly weird? Like, it's unpredictable. That's what we love about the NFL. If you're a team that went 3-14 last year, you could turn it around just like that. Fix the quarterback? I don't know. It could be different. If Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans went to the playoffs this year, would you be that surprised? Like, what if Cam Ward is just awesome? There is a world where this team could make the playoffs next year. And I've talked about all the other avenues to the point where people are like, oh, you're just so negative. No, I'm honest. And if you see it as negative, that's fine. Go watch the other accounts that are fan pages. They're going to tell you how great the team is, and that's totally fine. That's their lane. I'm not making fun of anyone. They're allowed to do that. But that's not what I'm here for. I have grown up on, I just appreciate the truth more than I appreciate being lied to. I don't want a false sense of expectations. Jonathan Gannon, I think he's awesome. And side note, again, listening to him speak yesterday, I watch almost every media availability that Jonathan Gannon is a part of, and of course Kyler Murray, because they're the two most foundational leaders of this team. And every time both guys talk, one, Kyler Murray, I'm like, man, he's been so influenced by JG. That maturity has really started to come into its own. Can it translate to the field where you play consistent football? I don't know. It's year 8, year 7. I don't know. But every time Jonathan Gannon speaks, I'm like, no wonder the players want to fight for this guy. No wonder the players like to be here. For the longest time, players were just trying to get out of here. 3-4 years goes by, 4 or 5 years goes by after franchise tags, and they're out of here. No one wanted to sign here. Carson Palmer, this wasn't his first destination. The Raiders just decided that he wasn't going to play for them. Things have really started to change foundationally for the Cardinals. Michael Bidwell, for as much as he drives me insane, he's always been nice to me, but just as an owner, has driven me insane. The foundational pieces are starting to really come into their own. And yeah, I have questions about Drew Petzing. Mike's right in the chat. I have questions about him. But let's call it what it is. The Cardinals do have a chance to be Super Bowl contenders. How big is that chance? No, it's not massive. I'm not here telling you they're going to compete for the Lombardi Trophy. But they have a chance. Because I believe this team is going to be a playoff team this year. And if they're going to be a playoff team, anything can happen. No one thought the 2008 Cardinals were going to make the Super Bowl, but they did. Here's why when I talk about trading for Trey Hendrickson or making that big move or preparing for this, because you don't know what the NFL season is going to have in store for you. It only takes one injury for your team to be the next team in line to win the Super Bowl. What if the Cardinals if the Cardinals went 13-4, how surprised would you be? I understand this idea of I'd be pretty surprised, but think about it. Their schedule is insanely easy for the first 13 games of the season. What if they go on a heater? What if they just go 10-2? And then with those final 6 games, they lose 4 of them and they end up going 12-5. And they get a higher seed than we think and they win the division. It's not impossible. Is there a world where the Cardinals defense is one of the best in the NFL? You have a defensive-minded head coach. That's why he's there. When you talk about Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers offense, you're like, oh yeah, they're always going to be awesome because Kyle Shanahan's there. The Cardinals defense last year had no one on it, and it was kind of serviceable. Not great, and when teams found out they could run on them, it was game over. But with the additions that you have, what if it's top 5? What if it's top 5? And then we talk about their offense, right? What if Kyler Murray figures it out? Would you be that surprised? Even for the most skeptic of a Kyler Murray fan that you could be, would you be surprised? He has all the tools. He throws an insanely accurate ball. He throws the best deep ball in the league. He's an insane scrambler. The offensive line went 4 games last year without giving up a sack. It's not impossible. So when I say, what if the Arizona Cardinals compete for a championship this year? What I'm really saying is the Cardinals need to be ready for anything. Because this team is incredibly talented. And Kyler Murray is the biggest question mark. But I do think there's a world where he is an MVP level candidate this year. We see the offensive talent. We see Marv, Trey McBride, James Conner. Those 3 guys, that trio, the trio of McBride, Harrison, and Conner has the potential to be a top 5 trio in the NFL. If Marv is awesome and James Conner doesn't fall off, it's absolutely a top 5 trio in the NFL. And if you're Kyler Murray with an offensive line that is more than serviceable, there is a world where they compete for a championship. How likely is it? Probably not super likely. But this is why the Cardinals have to be ready to make that big splash move for Trey Hendrickson, or be ready to make a big move at the deadline, or be ready to replace an injured offensive lineman. Because the Cardinals could very much exceed expectations. A couple of years ago, the Detroit Lions made it to the conference championship game. Yes, they were a good team, but they were the Detroit Lions. There was question marks all over Jared Goff. Jameson Williams wasn't awesome that year. The defense had some issues, and they made the conference championship game. Hell, they were up multiple scores on the San Francisco 49ers. This is why the Cardinals have to be ready to go. And this is why they have to be ready to make that splash move. I keep mentioning Trey Hendrickson because and I don't want to make this a Trey Hendrickson video. That's not what this is. But the point is, if Trey Hendrickson is on that defense next year, you're not worried about if you make the playoffs. Okay, we need a guy that we know can get to the quarterback. Trey Hendrickson can do that. B.J. Ojulari, Baron Browning, I like these guys. But they can be schemed out of games. And it's not to say the defensive line won't be fine, but in the playoffs, you kind of need to be dominant at times. And so I appreciate the tiny incremental steps that the Arizona Cardinals are taking to be a future Super Bowl team. But there's a chance that could be this year. What if you make the playoffs? And God forbid there's a bunch of injuries. What I've learned from watching the Phoenix Suns in 2021 and the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2023 is you better be ready for your moment because it could come out of nowhere and you don't often get a second chance. After the Phoenix Suns went to the 2021 championship, my immediate thought was, they'll be back. No big deal. They'll be back. Luka Doncic had something different to say about that. The Arizona Diamondbacks, I learned from my Phoenix Suns 2021 run. I said, man, when you get there, you got to take advantage of it. Diamondbacks made it to the World Series in 2023. And I kept on telling people, getting to the NLCS was fun. Being in the World Series is going to be really stressful. Because when you get there, you have to make it worth it. And they didn't. Two teams that have been in the championships over the past 5 years. And they both squandered it because neither team was ready for the moment. The Arizona Cardinals got to take a page out of the Diamondbacks and the Suns. This might be your year. It could be. And you got to be ready for it. You can't let it slip through your hands because it is even harder to get back to the Super Bowl than it is, in my opinion, in the NBA or the MLB in terms of the championships or the World Series. It's way easier in those leagues. In the NFL, it's one game. You have one bad quarter, you're out. So everyone's got to be ready and on board. And Jonathan Gannon, the defense could do that. And my guy Steve in the chat, anything is possible. And thank God he didn't quote Jason Tatum's "We did it last year" when he was copying Kevin Durant or Kevin Garnett. But that's my point. I don't think the Cardinals will be Super Bowl contenders this year. I do think they will absolutely be a playoff team and a playoff team that no one wants to play because I think their defense is going to be good and because I finally expect a consistent season from Kyler Murray. There's no reason why he shouldn't have one. All I'm saying is be ready for your moment because this might be the only chance you have to make it worth it and to win a Super Bowl. It's hard to get back. You're not the Chiefs. You don't have that kind of firepower on your team. All I'm saying is just be ready for it. Because let's say all these things are great. If you have an elite level season, Drew Petzing and Nick Rawlis are both gone. They're both getting jobs elsewhere. It's one of the reasons why I believe the Detroit Lions are going to pull back this year. They lost both coordinators who are highly sought after. It's just tough and you have to be ready for your moment. So if this is it, if this is the year, just like in 2008 when it was a shocker, just like in 2008 when it was a shocker, just like in 2021, just like in 2023 with the Diamondbacks and the Suns. If it happens, you got to be ready for it because those opportunities don't come around very often. All right, guys. I got a meeting to get to this morning. No show tomorrow. We are a Monday through Thursday show at 7 a.m. I appreciate you guys sticking around, being in the chat this morning. Wow, there's a decent amount of you guys. I did not look at that this morning, but I appreciate you guys. Do me a favor, hit the like button. That and commenting helps these types of things be seen to more people. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm not asking for your money. I'm asking for a couple of seconds of boom, boom. But if you want to send me your money too, sure. I like eating. That'd be fun. But appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. I'm really starting to make waves on social media, and that's because of you guys. So my social media followers keep shooting through the roof, so if you don't follow me there. I want to interact with you guys, and if there's something you disagreed with on the show, follow me on any social media platform at Ben Garcia Show, just like on YouTube, and tell me why you dislike my takes. I like having those conversations, especially with people that support me. It's why I try to get to all your guys' comments. I like being able to interact with you guys. Who knows? Maybe we make a Discord someday. I'm not big enough for that, and who knows? Maybe I talk about my story one day. I know my guy Steven in the chat's always begging to hear the boring story of how I got to where I am now. So appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. I will see you guys on Monday at 7 a.m. and have a fantastic weekend.